Well, hi everyone, and welcome to today's Smarter SMSF update, our quarterly look at what's been happening from a features perspective, what's happening with updated documents, and a whole range of things that our team are obviously been busy with over the past quarter. It provides me with an opportunity to not only talk to these things, but most importantly, show you some of these key features that we as a team have been working on, both in the context of our documents, our platform more broadly, which includes our new document platform, and around our education as well. So in that regard, here's a bit of an update around what we're going to be working through with you today. So we're going to start off with a number of new documents that we've added into the platform and some updates around those. What I will say up front here is a lot of the work that we are putting into these new documents and the updates are all naturally in respect to our new document platform. And I'm going to be sharing some information with you about, I guess, the transition that's occurring at the moment, and the fact that by the time we get to probably this stage next month, the default position that you'll be landing on when you come into the Smarter SMSF platform will actually be our new document platform, where you do choose those or to effectively order documents, whether you're doing it under a pay-as-you-go basis or you are utilizing it under one of our document subscriptions. Once we've gone through some of those recent documents, updates, and so forth, we'll then jump into our platform enhancements. There have been a range of things that we have done recently around this, and then much of the focus is going to be around our CSV import that we are now moving into your hands to be able to utilize. And what we are going to naturally show you today is how you can use that CSV import, whether it's in the context of fund establishment process, so to import company data, to import fund data, subject to whether it's maybe individual or corporate trustee, how that ties into then the doc flows technology that we've got on this platform, and then finally, the way in which you would be able to actually look at undertaking some sort of bulk deed upgrade content. So again, dragging that information out of your SMSF software to create multiple saved orders to really fast track that overall process. We'll then spend some time just giving you a little bit of an update on to the progress of our client list functionality that we're also adding into this platform. Again, we see that as a fairly significant time saving in the ordering process, and the fact that you'll be able to sync it back with your SMSF software to have that current data. But a lot of that is to do with what I refer to as a fund-centric platform that we're looking to achieve with this new document platform, rather than it just being built entirely on documents. I'll explain that a little bit more shortly. And then finally, a bit of an explanation again around that shift I was talking about before to our new document platform as the default, ultimately, when it comes to your access of the Smarter SMSF platform overall. A couple little, I guess, last bits and pieces around bug fixes and education updates and so forth as well. But predominantly, we're going to be spending much of that time today looking at those documents and platform enhancements that we've done. The other thing in this quarter that we've also done, hopefully as members, you will have in September 24, you will have seen a new monthly member newsletter. So the idea behind that was that we wanted to share with you regular updates that we are doing on the platform. Yes, this quarterly update allows us to demonstrate and articulate things that we're doing, but the monthly member one then gives you another avenue to go in, and we share with you links and articles in our knowledge base to help you understand a new form that we've added or a new feature that we've added. And again, I'm going to highlight those. And this quarterly webinar really is the culmination of what will be those monthly release notes and newsletter ultimately that we share with you as well. So I just wanted to remind people of that. Hopefully you will have seen that September one. We will be releasing the October one in the next couple of days as part of the finalization, obviously, with this webinar as well. So we'll put all of that together and give you access to all of that information as part, again, of our new monthly member newsletter. Okay, let's get stuck into our recent updates and changes with our documents. And we have, over the past month or so, added in some new documents into the Smarter SMSF platform. And part of this is actually splitting out some forms that we had in combination. So our original pension commencement form previously encapsulated not only account-based pensions, transition to retirement pensions, but it also included death benefit income streams. Now, what has happened over time as we decommissioned effectively our old pension form, or decommissioned our old pension form, and we introduced our new pension form, we took out the death benefit income stream because of the combinations that sat behind that document to be able to do a two-step process in the ordering of a pension commencement, where you didn't necessarily know the starting balance of that pension. You can not only have an oral request, but you could have an initial written request with an unknown balance and then do your written confirmation thereafter. So as a result of the additional combinations and templates and information in that pension commencement form, we have dragged out that death benefit income stream into a new standalone form that you can see on the screen here. Now, what I'm going to do is jump over to the platform, and I just want to highlight a couple of things for you. So most importantly, on our documents platform, you will now see that death benefit income stream document there. And naturally, it sets out the fact that you can watch the integrations. It's got all the detail around the sample documents, so on and so forth. So in our knowledge base, we have also set up the full instructions around that death benefit income stream, and takes you through how you can connect it with your SMSF software. You'll also see the details of all the different questions. So we've really beefed up in here the way in which you might look for the sample, and then helping to answer many of the questions that we have within the forms that may be more technically nuanced. So for those that might not come across this stuff every day in their life, there's a lot more information that is in here to be able to help you understand how you need to be completing that particular document as well. So you've got obviously the commencement details. Much of the form hinges off the existing pension commencement form, but quite clearly there are some additional details around the fact that it is a death benefit pension, who the deceased member maybe was, and naturally the fact that there are other details in here that relate more specifically to a death benefit income stream as well. So you can see here all of that information, and then ultimately you have a sample of those documents that you can view at the bottom of the screen too. So again, just noting that when you go into here, if you want to order a death benefit income stream, our new document platform is where you want to go. You'll order now, and then naturally you have, like you do have with all of the order forms in our new document platform, you have that ability to use the integration from the top of the page here. So in this instance, you've got your simple fund, class, and supermate integration. You can see here on the bottom left-hand side the integrations that are available. Now, just a small tip again for people, I haven't used my class integration in the last 24 hours. So whilst that says it's connected, it won't actually work because of the fact that after 24 hours, it needs to reset. So again, you would just go through the process of resetting either within that form or via the integrations section here. And then you will literally reconnect that again. And you'll be able to go through the process. And we're using a traffic light system here, so red and green. Red is obviously off in that regard. And then we would go through that connection again to be able to make it available to us. And then once it is green, you then can simply click on the logo and then choose that relevant information. In this instance, with the Supermate one, I have had that open recently, and then you can go down and select from that list to be able to populate the order form itself. So again, just making sure you understand some of these little items that we have within the new platform here. The other one that I did touch on in there as well is around the adding of a fund member. So one of the frustrations that we've had with our previous form of adding and removing is that we did have issues with the fact that when we were adding, some of the fund member or the member detail wasn't necessarily populating within the form. So as an opportunity to update the form here, we have not only addressed those particular issues, but we have also added into the form the ability to add other parties as part of the overall process. So if I go into our help guide about this one as well, so if I go add a fund member, what you will see in here is the fact that we have a range of other options now within the form. So not only can you add a member who is over the age of 18, but we also have template combinations to appoint child members. So where the parent or guardian would be the one that is naturally signing that particular form. And we also have those that may be under a legal disability. So there's a representative that holds an enduring power of attorney. And again, the fact that that person that holds the EPOA, it would be the one that would be signing those documents. So we've been in a lot of instances where we bring these forms over, we are taking the opportunity to review them and enhance them, both in their functionality, but also from a technical perspective where we can see that to be the case as well. And again, we've just got some information in here that stipulates what gets generated as a result of it. So we are pre-populating things like the trustee declarations. We've got our natural consents to act and the other applications around membership, so on and so forth as well. So again, just noting that we always encourage people to use the new platform, log in, access that, see what form is there to be able to use, and then go from there. And that, again, will be part of the change that I'll talk about shortly, because it's not, I guess, the natural thing that people will do, landing on the site here in our old platform. And then what they will do is they'll go, oh, okay, well, I'll just go into documents and start my ordering process, and not necessarily going, well, should I go over to the new platform and have a look if it's there or not? No, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's just jump in here and do that. So, which is fair enough. And from our point of view, we do want to look at changing that overall process and behavior that we're seeing with our members, to really take advantage of the extra work that we're putting in for you with this document platform in its own right. So yeah, just a couple of things there that were worth noting. Jumping back to the slides here, the other couple of things just worth noting here is we have made some updates around our deed update form or deed upgrade form. So the fact that we now have QROPS in there. So if someone wants to upgrade a deed that is a QROPS, that's fine. If they want to change to a QROPS, again, that functionality is all built within the deed of variation form on the Smarter SMSF platform. And again, if I just jump back to that particular form itself, it is a different form to the trust deed upgrade form that we have on the existing site. So not only does it capture that QROPS information that we were talking about, but it does also include items such as who is an additional party, or is there an additional party that exists as part of that overall process. The other thing that we have done in the deed upgrade process in here, again, you've got your integrations that sit at the top of the page, is the fact that you have your legal review function embedded into the actual forms as well. So like trust deed upgrades, change of trustee, we're going to be adding a whole range of others as part of this process on a mandated front. So something like a fund member's guardian, we're going to mandate some form of legal review for that to occur, to have that assurity and legal sign off around utilizing a document like that. But in some instances where we have a deed upgrade, then it will simply be the option for you to choose whether you want legal review or not. So again, this is another example where the deed upgrade process is far more advanced and improved on the original form that we had in here, under our old platform as well. So again, let's jump back to our slides. You're going to see me go in and out of the slides and the platform today, but that's fine. That's what it's all about. We are also making similar changes, or have made similar changes around our lump sum pension documents. So we are partitioning off the death benefit option. We have also added a number of conditions of release into that as well, and built some additional templates around those different conditions. And one of the things that we had requested is we have increased where in specie transfers are occurring out as part of the lump sum. We have now increased the number of assets that can form part of that transfer up to 10 now. And where that is done, in essence, it creates a schedule, and based upon the lump sum and the market values of those assets that are being paid out, we need those items to reconcile, and we've built some smarts into that form to ensure that the reconciliation process is actually done correctly as well. And the final thing here that I just wanted to touch on is we have made changes around our pension rollback form. So we have seen the ATO update their tax ruling 2013-5. So in that pension rollback form, what we have done again is we have made changes in here that not only deal with the member's request around that particular rollback of the pension, but we also cover in the member and pension details the ability for the person's income stream to cease as a result of the failed pension standards. And it creates that conscious decision to then have ceased that pension, and then that recommencement of the income stream will occur. Again, consistent with what the ATO now has around those finalised views. So if you sort of are not across that, I'd suggest you have a look at the discussions that Tim and I have had as part of our Feeling Smarter weekly videos that we do. And we also touched on it for our members that have CPD in our recent pensions masterclass as well. So understanding and just the distinctions around rollbacks for failed pensions versus member requests. Again, we've got all that covered off now very and consistently with the Commissioner's views in the updated tax ruling 2013/5. And if there are any further questions around that I know the SMSF Association has gone back to the ATO around that finalised view, because it is distinct and different to what had been indicated in the draft for comment, then naturally we will sort of follow suit and understand the impact of what that means as well. And finally, I guess in a Div 296 tax point of view there, and I'll put it on both slides here, is we are still awaiting, obviously, the impact of what those measures might mean, and then quite clearly, if and when or if that gets finalised, we will then naturally come back to you on those couple of items and the impact that it has on the deed as a result of that as well. So from a work in progress point of view, what are the other ones that we're working on right now? I touched on the lump sum and pulling out the death benefit component. That is literally the number one document that we're working on at the moment to get that death benefit one released off the back of the lump sum form being revised, and then we would be decommissioning that old form as well. We are updating our contribution reserving form. It is quite old in its functionality, so it's not consistent with many of the master templates that we have on file at the moment. So we are doing that. One of the other items that has been requested is there appears to be some accounting treatment difference between the different software providers. So therefore, the way in which the docs are designed at the moment isn't necessarily consistent with how the software providers, one of the software providers might be providing it, which is, again, just an accounting methodology. So we're capturing that in there, and then the templates will push out based upon your response, will push out the way in which the accounting treatment has done it within the financial statements for that particular fund as well. And the last one that we're doing, we're starting to see a few more people get to the point in time where the age of that LRBA is reaching its maturity, in particular with limited recourse loans that have a 15-year term. And we're seeing people looking at naturally moving these assets across in some instances. Some instances they may be able to remain. But whilst there is no formal obligation to actually have to vest that deed, there are a range of steps that do need to occur ordinarily. So what Smarter SMSF and Hill Legal are working on is, in essence, we're calling it a vesting deed. It's not necessarily a vesting deed in itself, just like contribution reserving isn't really reserving, it's an unallocated contribution holding account. So we are working on something like that to be able to support people that need to produce those documents, and then quite clearly be able to support that with a conveyancing service, which Hill Legal would be able to undertake those transfers from the bare trustee into the self-managed superannuation fund. So that pretty much takes us to the document side of things in terms of what we've been working on. The other thing that we have done over the past few weeks as part of some updates to the platform is introduced an app switcher. So what we have across our site now is a multiple of sub-platforms, in essence, that form part of the Smarter SMSF platform. So what that means is that we need to move people from documents to education, to support, to the administrative console, to be able to manage saved orders and users and all that sort of stuff, and then quite clearly across to the knowledge base. So again, just this is mostly a reminder or to show people how this will work. So when you log into our main platform, we have ordinarily had all this information listed down the side here. In our new platforms, you'll see it is much more simplified. It is focusing entirely, and if we go into our education platform, it is focusing entirely on what is relevant to that particular platform. But what you can see at the bottom of each of these is an app switcher. And that app switcher then allows you to move and navigate across. Now, this is very similar if you're using your classes and BGLs and so forth. This is not something that is new. So therefore, it shouldn't be something that you're like, oh, I haven't used one of these before. Because if you're going from, from class to now into the Now Infinity product, or you're going from BGL into CAS 360 product, or their learning channel, any of those sort of things, this switcher functionality is single signing you on from one platform to the next, and then back to the platform, et cetera, et cetera. So that's in essence what we're doing in here to take you across into the training platform, into the support platform, into the document platform. Now, in our existing platform, we have put that up in the top right-hand corner here, where I guess just working out whether, and we've put some heat maps on these to be able to work out how we feel people might best use it. But ultimately, what you will see going forward is this app switcher as the way in which we will be allowing you to work seamlessly between those different platforms. All right, let's keep moving along. And we're now going to jump across to some other recent platform enhancements. So what I might quickly do here is just go through and explain each of these. And then from there, what I'll do is jump into the platform itself and demonstrate some of these. So one of the items that we had as being requested quite regularly is the ability to post documents. So push your documents that you have with a class integration back into the relevant client within class. So this hasn't been public or isn't publicly available on Class's API, but we have been able to now obtain that information to be able to push it back. So it is available whether you are starting a pension, whether you're doing a deed upgrade, whether you're adding a new member or whatever. The ability to send the documents back into class is now available for you to be able to use. Okay. In addition to, if you are setting up a fund, you would be able to not only push the documents back, you'd be able to push the data back to enable that setup to occur as well. And I'll highlight that to you in just a second. The other thing that we have done, and you won't see this on the front end of the platform. This is more back end, but it is important in the context of what this provides you as a user and member of the platform. Is we now have, or we have situations, and probably the story is the best way to tell. We have situations quite commonly where someone will come to us and go, look, we need to produce the document in a particular way. We need to add an enduring power of attorney to sign in respect to a particular member. We need to have a clause added into the deed, maybe because we want to remove an employer sponsor. There may be a combination in there that is just still complies with 17A, but we need to sort of change it because of whatever the circumstances are. So we build for the 98% that use the platform and use the standard definitions within our SMSFs. All trustees must be members of directors, and directors must be members, by and large. So we do then get that 2% of orders that fall outside of those 9 dots, and therefore we need to take that document offline, make the relevant adjustments that they would need, and then we email that information through back to you. Now, the problem with that is that the form or the order that you've completed and the link that you have in your completed orders will not reflect the finalized order that we have amended or updated for you. Now, you might go, well, that's not an issue. You've sent it to me in the first instance. It will only ever be as good until the time that you can't find that document. You go back and you look at it, you download it, and it's not accurate. So ultimately what we've now done is we've updated the back end of our system. So once that document has been fixed in whatever way, shape or form that document needs to be fixed, we have the capacity now to upload that document in, and it will override the file that you have in your completed orders. And then we will advise you that you can then access that link, and it will have the most current order in it. Now, if you decided to reset that order, and you can see reset in the actions on the right-hand side here, and then you resubmitted it, quite clearly it's going to override that document. So you just need to manage that expectation. But ultimately, our goal here is to make sure that what you have in your completed orders is the final document, and therefore the ability to make that manual adjustment in the back end we see is an important addition that we've made to the platform to be able to support you. And the final one here is just around the fact that where we have people using our administrative console, the parent user only when we had company orders could only really access the constitution, not all the documents that may have been completed. So we've fixed that now. So when you go in to one of the particular child users, so the staff members that might be doing those orders, and you're the parent that has access to those orders, you'll be able to access all of those particular things that are available there to you. And I should highlight that both David and myself in the past couple of weeks did run a tips and tricks session when you're using the platform. So ideas and things to help you when you're doing your document orders and how the integrations work and that sort of thing. So if you didn't see it, I'd encourage you to go and take a look at it, just to, again, get you understanding and utilizing the benefits of what the software is providing. So if I just jump across again to our platform, just to highlight a couple of those things for you. So our completed orders, as I said, if you look at any particular order that sits within the completed orders, if it's for a rollback of a pension or an LRBA or whatever it is, there is now under the class one here, the ability to push that effectively to docs. Now, I'm not connected at the moment because I can go to my integrations and we can see that that is not working. So quite clearly, if I'm going to try and do that, it's not going to allow me to do it. So I'm going to have to make sure I'm connected first to undertake that process. And again, whether it's a new fund, whether it's a variation or whatever, you've got that functionality in here to now push those documents to class. The other one I touched on was just the parent user here. So a reminder, when you log in via the app switcher to the admin console, if you are assigned as a parent user, so you can see some of us here, there are both completed and saved orders. So we are seeing a much larger increase of use of this internally, in particular where we've got offshore teams where There might be staff members that are completing orders, but they don't want them to submit it without some form of peer review that may be happening here, maybe offshore, but that parent has then the capability to come in here and actually look at the user's console and then see what order has been completed. And in this instance, they would be able to go in and actually download that document so you can see the PDF there. I don't know if there's probably a company in here. There might be there. If you click on that, you can then see that change that we've made. So you can go in and you can get all of those particular documents, the certificates, the constitution, the register, the form 201, all those things sit there. But equally, if that order hasn't been completed and the individual wants to review that information, I can click on the relevant team member. Again, these are the members linked under the document subscription only here. This only relates to subscriptions. I can pick that file up and then I can go and complete that order, that finalize it for that individual, and saving me the time maybe as the manager of having to go and complete that work myself. So that functionality is in there, and we're continuing to enhance that admin console functionality to be able to support our members as well. All right, let's keep moving and go on to our next topic, which is all about our new CSV import. So this is a new feature that we've been working on for the past few months, and it is now available to use for 3 key documents, and 2 of them we can group together. So call it fund establishment, so special purpose companies and new funds. So if you have a corporate trustee, you would be starting with the CSV import for the trustee company, and then you wouldn't be doing the CSV import for the new fund. You would be using our doc flow functionality, and I'll explain all that as we work through it, to be able to do that particular next step. But equally, if you have trust deed upgrades to do, then rather than doing them one at a time and using the integration, you could ultimately create an export file from your software and then create multiple saved orders with that information to go through that particular process. So whether you are using data from your software for things like deed upgrades, whether you want to export data from Xero or Xplan or some CRM you have in your business, if it's a Salesforce or a HubSpot or a Keep or whatever it is, you have, if you've got that CSV functionality in it and you can drag that data out, you have the ability to then map that data, or you can import and put that data into our standard templates, which will then enable you to auto map that data. And then once you have that information, you can then upload that into the CSV. And again, it will either create the single order form for you to review and submit, or it will create multiple orders where you have multiple rows in that particular CSV file, and will add them to the saved orders area for you to go through and undertake in your own time. So before we jump into and show you live, I just want to talk you through a couple of actual case studies that we've been doing this with members. Okay, so first one we've had here from a discussion was that they have both financial planning and accounting within their firm and want to streamline the process from data that is captured originally in their Xplan software, where they do their data capture and then ultimately through to a statement of advice. And there was a recommendation about a new SMSF to be established. So what they wanted to do is well, how do we take the data that we capture in there, which is rich and valuable, to get it over into Smarter SMSF to do the ordering that reduces the error rate of rekeying and then enables us to get all that set up into our BGL software. So in essence, what this now enables us to do is to work through these 4 steps that you can see here. So we have our data capture in our external software. We export the data that we want. And because we've got a company as trustee that is being established here with these clients at all times, the special purpose company incorporation is the form, the CSV file that we're going to use. Now, they are mapping it to our special purpose company form. So when they are exporting, they're getting it to the point where they can auto map that process. They can then equally, if they don't want to auto map to our one, they could actually go through for the first time and do all the field mapping that they need and then save that as a template. But ultimately, import the data, review the data, submit the order form, and away we go. Once that form at company has been incorporated, they would then go and do the fund establishment. And once the fund has been established, they would do the ABN and TFN through the automated workflow that we have in our doc flows process. And again, I'm going to show you that. And then because they are a BGL user, with the integration turned on, they would go in and they would do the one-click setup. So they would be pushing that data off to their Simple Fund or BGL software. So they can post the company to CAS, they can post the fund and the ABN into Simple Fund 360, including the documents if they want to as well. And you can see those different screenshots there that I will go in and talk to you about right now. So let's jump in and look at this first one to highlight what this process looks like. So I'm going to close that one. We're going to go back to CSV import. And what you can see here is that we have this upload file process, and then it allows you to choose the form. So I've got a special purpose company here. What you can also see is we can save templates. So once we've mapped a document, if we're just using an export from a source that we have specific to your firm, then if you go through that mapping exercise and you want to save it, then obviously each and every one that you use thereafter, you just choose from your template and then that mapping will be done for you. Otherwise, you can go in and you can choose the sample CSV file from here, and then you'll be able to map to the file that we have set up for you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in and I'm going to get our special purpose company, our sample one that we've got here, and I'm simply going to upload that CSV file that has a row in it with information around the import of data that we're going to have in this process. So what you can see now is these are all the fields in the CSV file. And what we have is if we had the template that we want to use that we've saved before, we could go in and we could click that particular template, and then that would map those fields. Or in this instance, because we're using the Smarter SMSF template as the reference point, I can go auto map, and all of that information has effectively now been mapped in for here for us to go and import and undertake that particular order. So because this is a single entry file, what this is going to do is it's going to redirect us straight back into the form itself. Now, with a company, what it's now going to do is it's going to have in here all of the information that we need to be able to undertake this. So it's not going to fill out the company name form yet because we need to validate that this form, this company name is actually available. So it will be, but it's going to be subject to manual review, and then away we go. And you can see in here, all this information has been now populated into the form. Okay, so we can see addresses, we can see the names of the office holders, their roles, we can see their director ID that's been added in. So we can then simply, when we see these addresses, we can hit a space bar after it and find that actual address in the system. So that's probably because there's a typo there, but you can see that there, and that will validate the address. We can see the places of birth and the dates of birth, the issuing of shares, who the second office holder is, all their IDs. All this stuff is, we've saved an enormous amount of time now to get to this point to enable us to then review the form and then enable us to then complete that particular order. So that is, in its simplest form, the way in which that company incorporation, if we're looking at that member case study that I was just talking about, enables us to get to that process. Now, the second part of that is that once the company has been done, we aren't going to go and now do the new SMSF with that same piece of data. So I'm just going to find a new SMSF in the in here, because we've got the large majority of the information that we need within this file to now look at doing the next stage. So in here, if I just look at this Smarter 24, because, sorry, wrong one, I need to get to a company, not a new SMSF. What we need to do is, once that company has been established, we are now going to use the doc flow functionality within the actions tab here to enable us to then populate that next form. So in here, not only do we have our ability to push to CAS in this instance, but we also are now one click to push to BGL or push it to class or whatever that may be, the documents. We have our doc flows. So that then will enable us to use all the data that is relevant in the company form to now go and populate that into the new SMSF form to enable us to review and then submit that particular form. Okay, so that's the process that sits behind this, because in here, it's now got our addresses. Quite clearly, we don't have a fund name in here because the fund name has not been included in the original form. We don't have a date because, again, we haven't specified that in the company form. But the other detail is all actually sitting in here from what we were talking about before. So it's going to fill out 70%, 80% of that form, again, just to fast track that process for you. So the other case, and then, sorry, just to finish that off, we have that same functionality sitting inside of our new SMSF, which is what I was typing in before, is that the data, once we have arranged for our fund establishment documents, it will enable us to capture what is in that form to let us go and do our ABN and TFN as well. So similarly in here, we go down to our doc flows. So in this instance, we've not only got in here our send with the new SMSF and the docs in each of these, we now go and we can do the same thing with our ABN TFN process as well. So again, all the data that's in there takes us through and allows us to move on to the next stage, in essence, of that fund establishment process. And again, you can see that as you sort of work through the form there. So it's a huge time saving. We're trying to reduce the error rates in terms of processing from establishing the company and pushing that through to the new fund, to the ABN, et cetera, and we'll be incorporating that into a number of other documents as well. Now, let's just quickly go back to our slides, because what I do want to do is talk through this second scenario. And this is where another client said, well, look, I've got 50 or 60 deeds that I want to go through and do deed updates for. Now, I could use my integration and I could sort of go through and do them one at a time, and the data will be as good as the data that's naturally sitting inside your SMSF software. So I can map a file out of class to get what I need to do. And then rather than doing these singularly, what they will do is look at doing a bulk update of based upon the information. So it's still going to have to go through and review and check that the information is correct, but ultimately we're getting a CSV file that could hold multiple rows of data that are ultimately going to create multiple saved orders and assist in that process. Now, if that ordering form process was going to take, say, 10 minutes per order, and we can do this in a single file process, we're going to be saving here 8 hours. So, at least a day's worth of work through the introduction of this new CSV import function. And then once you review, you get into that review process, you can then look at doing things like, well, yeah, I want to get legal review or oversight on it. So you'll be able to select that information for the ones that you want to, but you'll be able to bypass that as part of the particular ordering process. And then again, once that order has been completed, you would be able to push that data, that document, I should say, back into your class software as part of that overall process. So let me show you again how that particular process will work. So I'm back on my CSV page that you can see here. I'm going to choose our deed upgrade. and then I'm going to grab a deed upgrade file that I've got here, and I've got multiple rows of information in this one. Okay, so again, if I want to get the template, I can do that from here. And naturally, the stored templates that I've got in here. And if I've updated one, I would simply save it again, and then I would delete the one that I'm no longer using in here as well. So if I get rid of this one, for example, and hit delete, then it will enable me to simply remove that as part of the overall process. So again, I'm going to go back in here, choose that relevant file, trust deed upgrade, open, and then upload that file there for use. So once that is in here, again, we can choose the template, or in this instance, I'm just going to auto map. And then from there, we go down and you'll be able to see there are a number of fields that may or may not be set as part of that overall process. We can actually leave those fields empty if we want, or we can go back and check those. I'm going to leave those. What will happen then is it's going to be redirected to the saved orders page. It's recognizing that there are multiple orders. And what you can now see is I've got 1, 2, and 3 here for me to go and review and then resume, and then all the data that was in that CSV file, on the basis that that auto mapping has all worked and worked appropriately, it will enable me to now go through and ensure that I've got the relevant information. So it's picked up that there are previous deed updates. It's picked up that we're using the Smarter SMSF deed historically. There's no QROPS, and then away we go from there. So that's the way in which the CSV works. It will be as good as the data that you put into the CSV. It'll be as good as the data that you decide to map if you don't use the template. So the first time that you may go through a particular process, you may need to map it individually if you're not using our template. So yes, that might take a little bit more time, but it's the ones that happen thereafter that will save time as you work through that particular process as well. And like I said, once you start to save, that is where you get the benefit of doing that. So in essence, that is what our CSV import process looks like. We're going to stop at that point, I guess, for the time being. But if there are other documents that you feel may be beneficial to this CSV import process, I'd highly encourage you to reach out to us, and we can kind of disseminate that with you and work out how that might work and how we might be able to support you as part of that overall process as well. Okay, let's sort of take this back now and finish up with the final few things as part of this upgrade. So there have been I guess a number of bug fixes and things over the past few weeks. You've got emails from me again just around a legacy key project that we needed to work on. It's created a few issues around the platform. Apologize, obviously, for some of the impact that that's had. It's somewhat out of our control with those keys, but we have gone through and have been methodically sort of fixing those. And part of that will change ultimately why we're going to make these changes that I'll be sort of talking through shortly as well. We do have a number of self-help articles, again, just to remind people there, if some of the old login detail isn't refreshing on your page, how you can go and sort of clear your cache and making sure that you can log back in properly, resetting passwords, resetting integrations, managing your multi-factor authentication, all those things. We've got self-help articles in the platform to be able to really support you to work through that as a call it level 1 support there as well. The other area that we're working on is our client list. So this is an additional way in which we are enabling an import for the purposes of completing an ordering process and really moving from again, what I call a document-centric platform to a fund-centric platform. So I might, again, just jump into the platform here to give you a bit of a look at what we're doing in this regard. So the idea here will be that it's going to give you the ability to manage your fund information here. So you'll be able to go in and you'll be able to view the history of that fund. You'll be able to import your fund information in here, and you'll be able to track a history of your particular fund in here. So you'll be able to see an upload, original deeds, history of deeds. So you'll have a central repository of that. You'll be able to manage all of your client information in here. So if you've got pensions, for investment strategies, those things, again, there's a central repository, not only to use from a completed orders page. So I might just open up a new tab and show you that in a second, but you have the ability to upload that document and store it in here on our Amazon S3 service as well. So the idea in here being that I can add to the client list here. And if that fund is not set up, it would be set up to the extent that the information is available, but that it would then link that document in here. So you can you'll be able to add funds into here generally. So adding funds manually, but naturally you'll be able to import funds into here as well via your connection that you have with your SMSF software, or even via Smarter SMSF, or you want to use a CSV import. So here I can look at the here and then view the data, and it will enable me to choose what files I potentially want to import as part of that process. I'd need to connect with the relevant software I might be using, but again, I can go into Smarter SMSF and I can look at orders that I've done historically and populate that information as well. So in that regard, what we are looking at doing here is enabling you to manage your client information here, but fast track the way in which a form will get populated. So in the file here itself, it's going to include all the things that we need in the context of a form. So fund name, it's going to have the ABN, it's going to have the establishment dates, all that sort of stuff where needed. It's going to have our trustee details. So it's going to have our company, our address, our meeting address, who the directors are. Their particular roles are going to be relevant here as well, who the chairperson is. So again, just fast tracking that process for you to be able to order particular documents. And then again, you'll have this central repository to be able to undertake that yourself. Now, if you've got an update change, an address, or whatever it may be, you will be able to sync that data with your software to make sure that the fund and trustee member details and stuff are up to date before you then go through a particular ordering process. So one of the final things, so we are at the point now where we are finalizing, we've finalized this part. The next part for us will be to incorporate this into the actual forms. So what you will see, and this is just a test at the moment, is that the integrations at the top is going to slightly change. And then what you will do in here is if you just want to utilize your client list area, you'll go import, and then you can see that list here. And then from there, it will import all the information that we have and is a much faster process than the connection and stuff that you saw before. So again, another feature that we're adding in here, not only around speed of using the integrations and quality of data that comes with that, but then also that functionality to bring it back into a central repository for your clients via the platform as well. So, and that's all part of us moving to a more fund-centric process for you. So just to, I guess, make sure I've ticked all those off there. So the import, as I said, can be from previous orders or a CSV or an integration. Once the database is created, you then got the ability to sync at any time to keep that information current. And we're now at the stage of getting that client list functionality into the relevant order forms. Again, it's all going to be docs to populate that particular process as well. So again, we're pretty excited around what that functionality is going to enable you to do. And whilst we're on that, the last thing around the platform that I just did want to talk about, I raised this at the very beginning, is we are working on a new login process to access the site. So what we'll be shortly rolling out is, rather than logging in via app.smartersmsf.com, it is going to be sso.smartersmsf.com. What does that mean? It means that the speed of entry is going to be substantially improved. You'll go through your multi-factor authentication process as part of that. But once you've used your multi-factor login, you see on the right-hand side here, there will be a splash page. And some of you may see this if you use BGL, for example. You'll see the opportunity to go, now where do you want to go to? So rather than going into app and then to the beta document side, or then going to the education side or the admin console, you'll be able to choose that as part of the very beginning of logging in. But for those that are wanting to order documents, you will be by default directed to the new document platform. Now, as part of that process, we don't yet have all the order forms in the new document platform, but what we are going to be doing is we're going to be adding the links and references to ordering all the forms that we have available on that platform. And then what you will do is you'll either order it via the new platform, or if it's not available, it's going to point you back immediately to the old platform and single sign you across from there. So whilst we're continuing to improve those documents, we are going to make sure that we get you landing where we would like you to land, which in the first instance is here. We're going to, if you're ordering documents, we want you here. As I mentioned at the beginning, if we're looking at adding new forms around add a fund member, we don't want you going to the old platform and using the old form in essence. But we recognize that not all of the forms that we have on here, for example, the fund member's guardian that I wanted to show you, what it will do is it's going to log you back in and across to the old platform and take you straight into that form to be able to complete. And then from there, you'll be able to complete that order, the page will close, and then in essence, you will be able to see any of your completed orders on the completed orders page. It doesn't matter whether it's done in the old platform or it's done in the new platform. So this is part of the transition that you're going to see. In here, you'll be able to identify pretty quickly, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, our new platform here is pointing to the current site. So docs.smarter SMSF. So in this instance, you would create your LRBA loan facility document that I just clicked on. But if it's not, it's going to point you back to the old site and effectively take you straight into that form to be able to order it in any event as well. But it is something that we will be working on, or not working on, we are working on it right now. And it will be in line with the actual centralized login change that we're making above. We expect that to occur at either the end of this month or in the first week of November. And as is the case with all things, we'll give you an update as to when that is going to occur as well. So the final thing I just wanted to add, there are a couple of things we've added recently into the learning library. So our pensions masterclass from August and our changing face of SMSF session from September have been added. Our insurance masterclass is coming up on the 12th of November. The member registration, we send out about a couple of weeks before, so expect that towards the end of this month. And for those around our courses, Tim is working through a number of those updates at the moment and reframing some of the modules as well. So over the course of the next few weeks, again, we'll share some updated information on that as well. So that pretty much takes us through to the end of today's session. I think pretty much right on time too. Yes, it is. We have a number of sessions coming up. We'll be at the SMSF Advisor Technical Strategy Days, Melbourne on the 22nd, Sydney on the 24th of October there, not Melbourne again. Our insurance masterclass that I spoke about, we will deep dive a bit more into some product updates around the new platform on the 19th of November. We'll also go through some other features around defective documents and the data rectification process on the 27th. And then our final CPD event for the year will be on the 5th of December, our changing face of SMSF. So that's pretty much it for me today. Thank you all for attending today's session. I hope you got some great insight to the fantastic work that our team has been doing. If you do have any questions off the back of that, please feel free to get in contact with us to make sure you are leveraging the most of what the platform provides, whether it's myself or David, Joe, or whatever from the team, to be able to support you with a lot of that stuff. Even if you're not using it or you had no idea that we actually had it, we'd love the opportunity to be able to make sure you and your team are utilizing that to its absolute fullest extent. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, everyone. We will be sharing this recording with you, and for our members, you'll get access to our member newsletter with the detail of some of these things, including to our knowledge base in the next few days as well. Thank you. Have a great rest of the week. Take care and bye for now.